This is the Jim Fannin Show on Niagara's News Talk 610. Call now, 905-688-2582, 1-877-610-2582, or text us at 61010.
I've made one mistake in my life. I should have burned Berlin down. And now the drugs are slowly wearing off. And your smile looks more like a frown. I give you freedom, you are alone. Memento mori, infinito nihil.
And a sensational Super Bowl Sunday to you. I am Jim Fannin. We are here live every Sunday, noon to 2 for the Jim Fannin Show. Right here on the One Voice for Niagara, 610 CKTB. You can listen to us online, 610cktb.com. And you have your digits. Additional ways that you can interact with the Jim Fannin Show. Tweet us at 610CKTB. You can add me in there too. At Jim Fannin. Facebook wall has everything politics up on it. If you send me a press release, you will get re-chirped or retweeted or reproduced. Catch me on Facebook. Coming up on the show today, the Jim Fannin Show continues. A hard act to follow with X Prime being live last week in David Jones's booth. Thank you, Jonesy, for running around getting these guys all mic'd up. The Blackflies are in Jonesy's booth at 12:15, and for the rest of the show, when we come back from a commercial, we'll have live local music coming from Jonesy's studio here at 610. That will not suck. So we've started a tradition here that's going to be hard to follow, but if you are a local act and you do not suck, then please send me your demo tape or get a hold of me on any way that we've mentioned. So that's coming up all show today. Live bumpers from the Blackflies. And we'll have an interview with them at 1:45. We're going live till 2 o'clock today. Kithio Mwanzia, sorry, brother, is in the booth with me. He is the policy director for the Greater Niagara Chamber of Commerce. We've been chasing these guys a long time. Thank you very much for getting in the booth. We're going to talk trade, exports, GO Train, green tech, anything you want to talk about that is business related in the Niagara region. Kithio is here representing the GNCC, and he will take your calls if you have any. We know from previous shows, if the interview is going well and the host is doing his job, you don't need to call. So step back from the phones if that's what you feel like. If you want to get in and want to ask a question, Kithio is available here. We'll do a couple segments with him. Mike Balsom is in the studio as well. You may know Mike Balsom from Laura Secord Secondary School or from Kojiko TV, where he's not doing a debate for the by-election for the candidates in Niagara Falls. Thank you very little. We had a few people step up to the mic and say, yeah, I'm in. Morocco and Maeve said, yeah, we're kind of busy. Damn, last time I ran, I had 13 debates. And we didn't say no to any of them. I think it was Birch and myself and Dykstra and was it George Addison for the NDP? That was a long time ago, 2008. Super Bowl Sunday. I'm not going to touch too much on that today. Maybe tomorrow I'm in for Tommy 9 to 12 as he takes a day of rest after what used to be for me the most important day of the year, Super Bowl Sunday and American Thanksgiving. And this year I'm working both of them, not as a realtor, as a show host here on 610 CKTB. So we're packed today. We've got a lot of time for your calls if you have any. And David Jones tells me that my son, the Hurricane's actually going to get a check for this song running right now. Is it SoCan? SoCan says to us, okay, we need to know who you're playing, what song it is, and we're sending these guys a check for royalties. Got any ideas who you want to get a check today from SoCan? 905-688-2582. This is 610 CKTB.
Open eyes, big picture, little things.
This is the Jim Fannin Show on Niagara's News Talk 610. Call now, 905-688-2582, 1-877-610-2582, or text us at 61010.
Oh, don't go out, it's better in the light. The fog is out tonight, yeah, the fog is on the rise. Keep your wipers on, your eyes on the lights. The fog is out tonight, yeah, the fog is on the rise. Give me something, give me sunlight through the rain.
Welcome back. I am Jim Fannin. They are the Blackflies, and they do not suck. If you don't suck and you want to get on the show, send me an email, jimfannin@gmail.com. Kithio is in from the GNCC, the Greater Niagara Chamber of Commerce. Kithio, thank you very much for taking the time. Let me get you a mic up there. Are we good to go?
Yes.
There we go. Thank you, my friend. Tell me a little bit. I got in touch with you this week after you sent us a press release regarding exports. Tell me what your plan is and where you want to go with it.
Yeah, so the Greater Niagara Chamber of Commerce launched the Niagara Exporters Council. It was launched this week. Part of why we did that is because we saw three key opportunities. One, if you look at the Great Lakes region, it's a vital driver of North America's economic output. And when you look at the number of small and medium-sized enterprises that are actually engaged in export activities, Ontario-wide, you're looking at approximately 7% of SMEs that are involved, small and medium-sized enterprises that are involved in the export market. You know, for us being a border community and having the connection to, you know, whether it's Western New York or Erie, Pennsylvania, we've always thought that there's a real opportunity to connect businesses in Niagara with export opportunities in the Great Lakes region, but also engaging them with interprovincial export opportunities. So, you know, we look at the oil and gas extraction that's taking place in Western Canada, and is there an opportunity for Niagara manufacturers to be part of that? We look at the mining extraction taking place in Northern Ontario, and is there an opportunity for Niagara manufacturers to be part of that? So, diversifying the sort of total manufacturing output for Niagara vis-a-vis the export opportunities, both interprovincial and cross-border and within the Great Lakes. So some of what we've seen as the key challenges for small and medium-sized enterprise that are export ready. They've got the money in the bank. They have the capacity to actually engage in the export market. But some of the challenges that we've seen are, you know, limited connectivity to supply chain opportunities, limited knowledge of how to access working capital to finance exports, lack of familiarity with exporting compliance procedures. So the Niagara Exporters Council will be able to provide both the educational expertise as well as the resources to get Niagara's SMEs into the export market. It's really quite exciting. I mean, we look at the dollar being the lowest it's ever been.
Did that foster this kind of initiative? Because now we have a declining market and it's a good time to jump on the export?
Well, I mean, it didn't. It was, the Exporters Council has been something that we've worked on for some time. For us as a chamber of commerce, for us the relationships are really everything, and so we've worked for many years on building relationships cross border. We've spent time being quite strategic. So the Chamber of Commerce is a founding member of the Council of the Great Lakes region. We're part of the Great Lakes Metro Chambers Coalition. We have a concerted focus on advocacy cross-border related to marine transportation, agriculture, agri-food, logistics, manufacturing. And so we've spent some time building relationships as an organization and doing the sort of organization to organization relationship building, the organization to public official and business relationship building. And now we're at a point where we're going to pivot all of that into providing opportunity for the membership, which is to say we have the expertise cross-border, we have the relationships cross-border. let's transform this into an opportunity for those Niagara businesses that want to jump into the export market.
And by cross-border, I guess you mean cross the international border and cross the provincial borders as well.
Yeah, it's really both. I mean, it's actually all three. So, of course, international would be quite valuable. But the way that we look at it is the first opportunity for Niagara businesses to jump into the export market should be within the Great Lakes to start with. One must dip their toe into the pool at least.
Okay.
Once they dip their toe into the export market in the Great Lakes, generate a solid deal flow amongst 100 units a year, let's say. Then at that point, you can start thinking about the international markets. You can start thinking about anything beyond that. For instance, you look at China and India, where their minimum unit order is 100,000 units. And that might be the entire capacity that some manufacturers here in Niagara do in an entire year. So you look at the order size and the capacity for Niagara manufacturers on their own to service that order, and it takes some time to actually build to that point. A part of what we're doing with the Niagara Exporters Council is getting Niagara manufacturers together. So, sitting in the same room. So filling an order size of 100,000 might not have to be done by one firm. Perhaps collaboratively, 3 firms, 3 manufacturers in Niagara are able to fulfill an order of that size.
Well, what do you think the potential here for impact on businesses financially? Do you have an idea what this initiative might be worth as far as promoting and tapping into a market that we might be missing by not being unified and solidified in our positions?
We've always talked about growing Niagara 10 jobs at a time, and
the GNCC.
That's always been a part of our modus operandi. Is
right.
It's going to take a job at each GDP producing firm in Niagara, so approximately 7,000 firms.
So is that your practical application where we're not going to go for the whole shooting match in the first draw? We just go 10 at a time. Is that scaling back only to just for practical reasons?
Well, I mean, it's more looking at the North American market and seeing sort of the reality of it, right? It's as a Chamber of Commerce, we look to our members and say, our 1,500 members, and say, how can we assist you? What is the advocacy that we can do? What is the service provision that we can do to have you add one job to your profile of jobs? And that's part of what this is. This is an export opportunity. So this is expanding the market that Niagara products will be able to sell to. This is expanding the opportunity that Niagara businesses will have. And the Exporters Council really is saying, here's an untapped market opportunity. Here's an opportunity to leverage relationships. This is something that the Chamber of Commerce can help you with in terms of jumping into the export market, whether it's leveraging our research capacity or leveraging our advocacy capacity when it comes to regulations and cross-border issues, whether it's leveraging some of our services. It really comes down to how do we advance you to the next level as a member of the Chamber of Commerce. And the great thing about it is that we've actually had great response from our membership that are saying, indeed, this is something that we've thought about. We've thought about jumping into the export market. We know that we can do it. We know that we're export ready. We're just we're searching for the best avenue for it. And for us, like I said, our relationship with all of those organizations and the Buffalo Consulate Trade Office, cross-border, all of those things allow us the opportunity to make the connection for our membership effectively.
Kithio Mwanzia is my guest. He's with the Greater Niagara Chamber of Commerce. He is the policy director with the GNCC. Appreciate your time. Kithio, Steve Cook and I just said to you off air before we went on talking Go Transit. Here we finally get the mayors all together, and they say, bring Go Transit to Niagara Falls. We got Diodati standing literally with a bag full of money at the end of the Go line, the proposed Go line, with $45 million a year he gets from the OLG, which is a whole other thing I don't want to touch on, how we tax sickness by the addicts that go to our OLG spots. But here we've got a very willing council of mayors saying, hey, bring Go Train to Niagara Falls. I think Go Train to Niagara Falls is the end goal. A little bit frustrated, and I ripped on Steve Cook by saying, what the hell is your problem? Grimsby? Come on, Grimsby. First, one day you got the mayors coming out saying, bring it to Niagara Falls, and then you geniuses come out, and I've accused you guys of not building consensus before, and come out and say, no, West Niagara is fine. So now, I did say that Steve had a great argument by saying, Jimmy, this is not how government rolls. They don't give you $400 million to come to Niagara Falls, especially when they're giving you $400 million for a South Niagara, quote, South Niagara hospital, really a Niagara Falls hospital, because they'll tell you in Niagara Falls we're not South Niagara, or at least that's what they say in Fort Erie and Port Colborne. Tell me about a little bit about the decision to rationalize your ask from Go and say, hang on, let's get it here first, let's move it here with a plan, and then let's move it down the road as the plan develops.
Right. A few things. I mean, of course, Niagara Falls is South Niagara. I certainly believe that. Okay. Geography sort of speaks for itself, and the other part about gaming is an important node in a network of attractions in Niagara.
Sure.
The Go piece is actually quite interesting. I mean, I noted it as it's interesting that you engaged in a bit of a debate on it. I noted it as probably one of the first times that we've actually seen some solid regional consensus on a particular issue.
I would agree with that.
You do have the municipal heads that said Go to Niagara really was their release. They had indicated that it was important for
Go to Niagara Falls. You mean
it was important for Go train, commuter train service to be prioritized for Niagara. And we saw that happen. What the business community did vis-a-vis its release, which I'm sure you saw, was to say, let's begin with West Niagara and have a solid plan that takes us to Niagara Falls in the long term. And so as I had mentioned to you, I said, whether it's Go to Niagara, whether it's Go to Niagara, where West Niagara is the commitment in 14, and then St. Catharines is the commitment in 15, and then Niagara Falls is the commitment in 16. That is the type of timeline that the business community is saying, well, let's start with West Niagara and have a solid plan that takes us all the way to Niagara Falls, because ultimately, Go to Niagara Falls is an incredible priority. So that's the first piece. The second piece is that when you look at any of the Go conversations that have taken place in any community, Toronto, Hamilton, Guelph, Barrie, at each of those points, you've had municipal leaders say X, and you've had the business community jump in and say, here's the meat on those bones. So yes, let's bring it to this place for this reason. And then the business community jumps in and says, the meat on those bones means plan XYZ, plan 1, 2, 3. And that's what you've seen happen here in Niagara. So really, I mean, we're duplicating a best practice that's happened in other communities that's been successful to bring them there.
Practically the way the government usually rolls it out is bit by bit. They don't come with the whole bag of money all at once. So
that's right. And so we've when we build a value proposition, that's one of the things that we look at.
Kithio Mwanzia, that's a mouthful. Kithio Mwanzia, Greater Niagara Chamber of Commerce Policy Director, is in the booth with me. Mike Balsom is in as well. We'll do another segment with Kithio after this break. This is 610 CKTB.
Everybody, come on now,
This is the Jim Fannin Show on Niagara's News Talk 610. Call now, 905-688-2582, 1-877-610-2582, or text us at 61010.
It's late, the moon is out. Everyone is here. Yeah. I see your face across the room. You're sitting there. I couldn't help but stare. Yeah. I've been waiting so long for you to come along. Why'd you make me wait more than I had already intended?
Welcome back. I am Jim Fannin. My gratitude to Blackflies for doing the intros. Sounds lovely, boys. Well done. Kithio Mwanzia, GNCC Policy Coordinator, is in the booth today. We have talked about trade, exports. We talked a little bit about GO. Maybe we get into some green tech, their idea on green tech. But first, Kithio, tell me a little bit about your plan for getting the business community together. I know you merged, we've had lots of discussion over what happened when you guys created the GNCC, the Greater Niagara Chamber of Commerce. Wasn't so successful from the standpoint that you brought in all the other chambers. I think it's a great idea. I'd love to see the business community solidified and come together and have a Greater Niagara Chamber of Commerce. So there's no other Chamber of Commerce in Niagara. Maybe that's a pie in the sky ideal, but I do support the concept. Don't support it as far as governance goes, as you know. I like decentralization, but from the business community's voice, I see a real need to speak with one voice. I see the real need to stop the duplication of these economic development centers of 12 municipalities and the region, so 13 entities that could be merged into one, so that we have the resources and we're not tripping over each other. So tell me a little bit about the plan to bring in, Welland, Port Colborne, Fort Erie business minds and Chamber of Commerce's into the fold of the GNCC.
Well, I mean, there's the creation of the GNCC and the subsequent votes to merge, the Small Business Council, the St. Catharines Thorold Chamber of Commerce, Women Niagara, Next Niagara. That's all unfolded over the last few years. When it comes to the other chambers of commerce in Niagara, there's approximately, I think there's 8 of us in total.
Okay.
For us, we are a regional business organization that we've got 1,500 members.
And growing quite rapidly now.
Growing rapidly. From across Niagara, really, we have. We're the largest business organization, of course, in Niagara. We're actually the 3rd largest chamber of commerce in Ontario. So for us, bringing the other chambers of commerce into the fold really is alignment on our advocacy strategy. And each year we issue an advocacy plan. It's approved by the board, and this year we'll be doing the same. And each year with our advocacy plan, what we do is ensure that we have alignment with each of the business organizations that are in Niagara. So it does take some time for us to say, well, you have priority X, and here's how, as a Chamber of Commerce, we can work with you to achieve priority X. And at this point in time, that's really the way that we'll continue to move forward with trying to align our strategies. There really is one way for us to approach business advocacy, and having more people in that fold has been the one of the strongest ways for us to move forward. Ultimately, though, we have a membership to serve, and we work very hard to serve that membership. We have a business community in Niagara to serve, and we work very hard to serve that business community. So for us, the value proposition of the organization is our capacity to strongly advocate, our capacity to provide marquee events and services that help better connect the business community at all levels, both large and small. And that's our modus operandi. The opportunity to collaborate and be cooperative is great. But we really have a membership that we serve, and we work very hard to serve that membership. Our advocacy plan becomes a significant tool for us to bring other organizations into the fold and work well with them, and we've done so. I look to the State of the Region, which will be taking place in April, where all of the business organizations in Niagara have come together to have the State of the Region address, which will be done by Chair Gary Burrows. I look at that as one of the primary initiatives where we can say, well, look, we've gotten together, we've developed a common agenda on specific initiatives, and we're executing this marquee event together. There will be other opportunities, whether it's key advocacy initiatives. Of course, on Go, we provided the information and the press release to the other business organizations in the community, and we said, we are going to work together on this. This is going to be a 3-year, potentially, period where we're working together on a singular initiative alongside with municipal heads of government, mayors and regional chair, right? So,
now, when I came into the Niagara Association of Realtors as a board of director, we had merged as Niagara Falls, St. Catharines, and Welland, and I think successfully. Our membership, I think there was a passionate discussion. I think we had some opposition from maybe Niagara Falls, which was just a smaller community, and for some reason was afraid St. Catharines was going to come in and take over Niagara Falls. That didn't happen. So I think we are a success story as far as a merger. But when I get to the board of directors, I looked around the table and I said, do we belong to the Chamber of Commerce's? No. Well, why not? Well, I don't know. Well, how many are there? Well, there's 8. Well, I move that we join them all. And so as the Niagara Association of Realtors with 1,000 members who are active in the community and certainly have their pulse on the economic activity, as far as selling houses and businesses and commercial properties, it was a great move for us. Now, we got different responses. I think Niagara and Lake said, well, you can join, but you can't come to any of our events. St. Catharines said, you can join and you can vote and you can come to our events. And I think it was different all over. But the need, and we're cutting a check still now to 8 different Chamber of Commerces, and I'd love to see that, come in. So what do you think the other chambers are looking for as far as value goes? What's the pitch? What's the sell to them? Because they have jobs to look out for. They've got administrative positions, GMs that will lose their position, and rightly so, their paycheck too. So what do you think the sales job would be to get those guys on board to say, you know what? Yeah, we're better off being under the umbrella of the GNCC.
Ultimately those decisions are not up to, I'm a member of staff at the Greater Niagara Chamber. Ultimately, those decisions are made by, boards of directors.
Now, that is a great answer. I love a staff member that can say, you know what, that's not my place. The board runs the show. Well, and I've been guilty of pointing the finger at you guys and going, no, all the advocacy comes from the GM and then gets approved, rubber stamped by the council.
No. We have a very active board. I mean, our board of directors is elected, right? I mean, we have a competitive election for our board of directors. And they take their job very seriously. I mean, you look at how the St. Catharines Thorold Chamber of Commerce merged with the Greater Niagara Chamber of Commerce. That was a vote by the membership. So ultimately, the staff is out of the equation when it comes to deciding on this, because the businesses that are members of the various chambers of commerce decide on what the future of those organizations look like. In the case of St. Catharines Thorold, they voted by about 92% to merge with the Greater Niagara Chamber of Commerce. In the case of the other chambers, it'll be their membership and their boards of directors that are representatives of that membership that will ultimately decide about what the future will look like. For us, like I said, it's for us to continue to prove a value proposition to our membership of 1,500 that we get up and work on every single day. ultimately the businesses will decide what the future of the business community and the way in which we're represented will look like.
Thank you very much. Kithio Mwanzia is the policy director for the Greater Niagara Chamber of Commerce. He's in studio. We'll take your calls. I got a couple texts we'll get to. 1 o'clock, Mike Balsom's going to come in for a couple segments at least. I think I have Consulman coming up too. Fabian Reese, winemaker and viticulturist at Consulman, will be in. We're going to talk all things wine, and especially what the hell is going on with this cold weather. How many vines are they losing out there? This is 610 CKTB.
This is the Jim Fannin Show on Niagara's News Talk 610. Call now, 905-688-2582, 1-877-610-2582, or text us at 61010.
Oh, well, fight is all we do. Time and time again. Well, let me tell you, I try to understand, yeah. We're gone again. Come on, train. You're going in and coming in, you won't be back again. Oh, come on, train. You're going in and coming in, you won't be back again. Come on, go.
Jim Fannin, welcome back. Live every Sunday, noon to 2, and occasionally we'll have a hot rock and roll band to come in as well. Thank you to the Blackflies, and last week to X Prime for coming in, playing live bumper music. Kithio Mwanzia is the policy coordinator for the Greater Niagara Chamber of Commerce. I'm joined with him. Also, Mike Balsom is in the booth. We have a text message here from an old, reliable listener, Andy P. So thanks for getting in, Andy P. It's a little long-winded, which doesn't surprise me at all, coming from Andy. In the Chamber's latest press release on the $11 minimum wage, the headline called to move a, quote, setback, and yet in the first sentence of the release, the Chamber claims to be, quote, guardedly optimistic, end quote, about the increase. Which is the increase, Kithio? A setback or a reason for optimism? It can't be both. It seems like the Chamber is playing two interests by taking 180-degree different views in the same breath. Its membership in the governing provincial Liberals. Can we hear one position for change, Andy P?
Interesting. I listened to that question with recognizing the individual that has actually sent it, and I appreciate his enthusiasm. I think at the onset, the Chamber of Commerce, of course, is a nonpartisan organization. Our primary interest is the business community and serving our membership.
So that's pretty partisan, though.
I suppose we are partisan about the business community and serving the interests of our membership. Of course, I guess. Yeah. Thank you. So the press release that we did issue, we indicated that this would be a setback for the employment outlook. A few reasons why. The guarded optimism about this particular framework for minimum wage was that it's now going to be depoliticized. We've been calling for the depoliticization of setting minimum wage for a number of years. So it's now going to be tied to CPI, the Consumer Price Index, and that takes it out of sort of the political whims of each year setting minimum wages. Nothing worse for the business community than not having certainty about
I would agree with that.
About labor cost. So therein lies why there is optimism and why we said moving forward this has some value. The setback that we indicated was that we're looking at a 7% increase. At $11, we're looking at a 7% increase on minimum wage that will begin as of June of this year. When you look at approximately, so the the sectors in which you have the biggest component of minimum wage are retail, leisure, and tourism. That just happens to be about 35% of Niagara's economic workforce, about 55,000 jobs. So now we have a 7% increase across the board for employers as of this June that'll take effect. And that's going to be something quite significant to manage. You know, I know that some of what we saw said, well, you know, thank goodness it's not $14 as some of the groups were calling for.
Sure.
But when you look at Niagara, we had the economic crisis of 2008. We had the Western Hemisphere Travel Initiative that required passports to come cross-border that impacted our tourism with a decline of about 22%. You have people that are traveling less and spending less in our hotel, leisure, and retail, not to mention the cross-border shopping. So a 7% increase in labor cost will have a significant impact on the business community, particularly when it comes for this year. You know, businesses are able to plan for costs over a period of time. But we're looking in the next 6 months, they'll have a right-away 7% increase in their labor cost. They might not have a 7% increase in business this year. I mean, you know, you're looking conservatively probably at about a 3% increase.
So your take would be this could possibly cost us jobs or cost us businesses based on their bottom line shrinking because of the labor cost being increased.
Absolutely.
So tell me a little bit about, I think it's really interesting that, you know, we've declared that the Chamber is an advocacy group for business, but the social aspect of it. I mean, Tom McConnell, I've batted this around quite a lot, and strangely enough, he indicates to me that the guaranteed annual income is actually a very conservative-minded thing. Milton Friedman started that a long time ago. So I wonder, is there a different route about going around this by giving people enough money to stay healthy, not punishing them when they go to work? There's some people that don't work because they want the benefits. So we could take UI, we could take welfare, and we could put it all under a guaranteed annual income to make sure that people aren't hurting, aren't going to the hospital, aren't, going to black market or crime. And then rather than increase the minimum wage, give them a guaranteed annual income so that we have social, does the Chamber see itself as an advocacy group for social change as well?
Part of that social change is just is ensuring that businesses thrive and do well, and like I'd mentioned at the beginning of this, which is growing the economy 10 jobs at a time. When it comes to the minimum wage and its capacity to lift individuals out of poverty, when you look at sort of the menu of options, policy options to actually lift individuals out of poverty, the top of that list is actually education. So simply increasing the minimum wage in XYZ fashion isn't sort of done and done. Poverty
silver bullet,
now taken care of. It is
because minimum wage doesn't mean much. Go ahead, Mike. If you don't have jobs,
my point that I wanted to bring up, something I read in the Globe and Mail, I think earlier this week, an analysis of actually who is working at that minimum wage, and those people tend to be the people that aren't the main breadwinners in that home anyway. So
which is very different than what you see in the States, because in the States you have seniors working at McDonald's. You don't see that here in Canada much.
Not to the same extent. So with an increase in the minimum wage, will that really do anything to alleviate poverty?
I think that's a great point, Mike. It has a certain political savvy, if you will. About
and everything's about politics right now with the governing Liberals, and we got by-elections going on in two communities, and a general election slated to possibly come up soon.
You can't talk about any policy that's come out in the last 3 weeks or the last month even.
That's not political.
But that's sort of characteristic of minority government, and is sort of endemic of our political system.
First past the post.
Whenever I know that there are some arguments for and against, but when you look at a minority government, you will always see sort of a marathon of politicking. The thing with the minimum wage, though, is of course the Greater Niagara Chamber of Commerce made a presentation to the minimum wage panel. A number of business groups made presentations. agricultural groups that will be significantly impacted by this. And the presentations had a common theme. Don't play catch up. We already have one of the highest minimum wages in in North America. There is no need to say, okay, now because we haven't raised it in the last few years, in the last 3 years, we need to play catch up and bump it up significantly. The decision that came out clearly demonstrated that they did bump it up. They went from 10.25 to 11, and that, like I said, 7% increase. When businesses have likely not seen a 7% increase in business.
They might not have 7% in their margin, in their budget. So,
Precisely.
Yeah.
Precisely.
Kithio, I really appreciate your time. Coming up is Mike Balsom. Kithio, you're welcome to hang around. Balsom's going to talk music. We'll talk some politics. Talk about Cogeco's lack of a debate in the by-election in Niagara Falls. This is 610 CKTB.
This is the Jim Fannin Show on Niagara's News Talk 610. Call now, 905-688-2582, 1-877-610-2582, or text us at 61010.
Well, I feel the night breeze blowing by. It reminds me of a time I held you in my arms. We fell asleep and woke at dawn. Time I'll spend with you. Well, it's all that I want to do. I see the sunshine in your eyes. I taste your lips, they're so divine.
Welcome back. I am Jim Fannin. Blackflies do not suck. Catch them locally. They're coming in at 1:45. I'm going to talk to them live. Put a voice to the voice and the band. I am Jim Fannin. We're here every Sunday, noon to 2. Mike Balsom running my video for the behind-the-scenes look.
Jimmy, I got to tell you, I love what you're doing, bringing these bands in live in the studio. I listen to you most Sundays whenever I can, and giving a lot of exposure to some of these local acts. And these guys today are just fantastic. Blackflies, amazing talent.
Jonesy is doing a lot of work behind the scenes, and I appreciate that very much. Thank you for being an engineer and a board op today, Jonesy, including what we call phone slap, actually screening the calls and screening out you lame callers that haven't called today. 905-688-2582. Mike Balsom is my guest right now. We'll go a couple segments with Mike. Mike, you're a teacher over at Laura Secord Secondary School, and also a media personality, so I appreciate your time. I know you're busy.
Thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. Tell me about the kids, man.
Well, we're up to about 800 students at Laura Secord now, and we're running a couple of programs out of there that focus on the arts. We have what's called a specialist high skills major, which is a bundle of courses in a program, and our board runs a number of them. There's SHSMs in construction and technology, in business.
What specialist?
Specialist high skills major.
High skills. Okay, I thought you said high schools.
It came down from the Ministry of Education a few years ago, and it's basically a package of courses. It includes cooperative education, which is important for me. That's one of my roles at the school. So the students take a package of courses that relate to a certain sector in the business community. Okay. Ours is the arts and culture, SHSM. So we have students who are involved in dance, in drama, in music, and the visual arts as well. And there's no audition process per se. And as a matter of fact, sometimes we look at kids who are already in our school in grade 9 and 10 who have shown an interest in taking a mixture of these courses already. And we ask them, would you be interested in this? And we counsel them into it. And when they graduate, they get what is called a red seal on their diploma. And that red seal is recognized across Ontario as, someone who has specialized in that area.
Okay. Now, you specialize in the arts. Specifically, I'm drawn to the music, obviously. My connection with Wainwright and DSBN goes right to Billy Sadler winning the role for his role in one of the roles, the lead vocalist role in Sky's the Limit.
Billy's an amazing kid. I taught Billy in grade 9.
Okay.
And he was this kid who had so much respect for his teachers, and this curly hair and this raspy voice, which, as you know, I can probably appreciate because I have a little bit of a raspy voice myself. And he had this singing voice that immediately just knocked you out. Mm-hmm. And the DSBN, when that came up, Gerda Clausen, our arts consultant for the board, held auditions throughout the entire board, and Billy won the prize of being able to sing lead on that. Michael Wainwright song, and it just, really, it just hit the fan. We're up to almost 700,000 views on YouTube, and it's just incredible.
It's a great story. Tell me about what you got coming up in the arts community coming out of Seacourt.
Well, before I get there, I did say that there's a couple of programs that we run. I also want to talk about the DNA program, which is also part of Laura Seacourt's arts focus. It's basically the District Niagara Academy of the Arts. And for that particular program, it's not the SHSM, it's a separate program. But it's a program whereby students do have to audition, or in the art world, in the visual arts world, bring their portfolio. Okay. And these students are expected to, basically meet certain minimum standards to become a part of that program. And I'm sure you're old enough to remember the movie Fame and the subsequent TV show. Sometimes walking through the halls at Laura Seacourt is a little bit like that. You see all the dancers in the halls, and they're practicing their dance moves. You see some singers out in the halls practicing something that they're going to have to sing in front of their teachers and their fellow students. You'll also see some amazing instrumental talents. A young guy named Corey Krakowski. I've watched this kid play a cello, play a double bass, pick up a guitar, pick up a violin, and start. Someone brought a banjo into the school. It may have even been Corey's. This guy can play any stringed instrument you're talking about. Joel Levchinsky is another kid. Maybe I shouldn't be mentioning names, but he's in the band back in the days with Billy Sadler. And Joel's
they're going to be in here soon.
He can pick up a saxophone, any stringed instrument. Again, and he's just an amazing drummer. So we have these such talented kids at the school. It's unbelievable. Sometimes you have to shake your head. And I've been at the school 16 years, and every year the talent gets better and better and better.
Tell me about the culture when you have a school like that, and you got to be recruiting from other schools very easily from the standpoint that they can't offer what you're offering in the music and the arts and the drama programs. Tell me about you talked about walking through the halls and it being a little bit like Fame. Tell me about that culture and how it fosters better children, for lack of a better word, I guess.
Well, it does. I'm a strong believer, and I don't want to leave you with the focus or with the feeling that the focus of Laura Seacourt is strictly arts, because it's not. I mean, we do have all the academic programs and a lot of the tech programs as well that relate to a well-rounded school. But an education in the arts, to me, is something that does make a well-rounded individual. And these kids that are at our school and focused on the arts, they're just amazing. And they're also the ones that are also, excelling in math and excelling in science and, writing amazing essays for their English teachers. It's incredible. It's an incredible group of students that we have.
You find your pull in the community goes outside your boundaries as far as the school goes? You
Definitely.
Get people coming from all over the city?
Definitely. I'm always floored. You assume, for many years, I assumed that, the kids at our school are from our local neighborhood.
Stops where the buses stop.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. But you find out in talking to some of these kids that, one's coming from Fawn Hill, one's coming from Welland. A lot now from Niagara on the Lake without Niagara District Secondary School there as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll talk about the merging of the school boards when we come back.
Well, we can talk about that.
Mike Balsom is my guest. He is with Laura Seacourt, and Kojiko is a volunteer media personality. We'll talk to him for another segment. And then we got Conselman's Winery in the house. Fabian Reese will be with me. He's the viticulturalist. Viticulturalist. Got it. We'll talk about the challenges they faced with the really cold weather that we've had this year. And we're going out with one and only Billy Sadler. This is Michael Wainwright's Sky's the Limit on 610 CKTB.
This is the Jim Fannin Show on Niagara's News Talk 610. Call now, 905-688-2582, 1-877-610-2582, or text us at 61010.
I am Jim Fannin. Mike Balsom joins me today. He's a leader at Laura Seacourse Secondary School and also a media personality on Cogeco. Mike, we talked a little bit about, a friend of mine said the other day, well, the Green Party candidate, becoming a friend of mine, but
Clark Bitter?
Clark Bitter's taken an unpopular, semi-unpopular stance with, and the Green Party's also always said, merge the school boards. We got too much duplication. We can save $1 billion or more by merging them. There's no reason the Catholics, and I grew up Catholic, nothing against being Catholic, but we don't have Muslim schools. We don't have any other
Well, the issue
faith
killed John Tory in that one provincial election when he started talking about funding for those other faith schools.
Right.
My opinion, Jim, there is a lot of duplication. There's certainly a lot of duplication, and it's quite ridiculous when you look at the levels of duplication and how much money could be saved by the merging of the two school boards. You mentioned Niagara on the Lake and what would have happened if we had one school board. Would Niagara District Secondary School still be open? Parliament Oak right now, a huge issue happening April 22nd when the decision should be coming down from the Accommodation Review Committee in the DSBN on whether or not to keep that school open and shift those students to Crossroads, the school that just opened 2 years ago, that won't be big enough the way it is right now to accommodate the kids from Parliament Oak if they're shifted there. So a lot of touchy issues.
Certainly.
And as a teacher, and I'll say this, as a teacher with the DSBN, we have to sell ourselves. And it surprises me how much energy I have to put into my job.
You mean competing against the Catholic system?
Yeah, competing against...
that's the story. The Catholic system's better education system to be in. I don't see it, but that's the argument a long time.
I don't see it at all. And it just, again, my energies should be focused on helping the students that are in my classroom, teaching those kids. I get a little bit frustrated that I have to plan an open house. I have to be there for that open house. It's 3.5 hours of song and dance, and I enjoy doing it. I'm up on that stage, as you know me. I like a microphone, so it's not something that bothers me. But it amazes me how much energy we have to put forth to sell ourselves, to convince kids.
Almost being in the business of recruiting.
Exactly.
That's what we see in the States. It's a huge issue as far as recruiting, and we're talking about higher level education probably in college and university, but you feel the same way right here in Niagara.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mike Balsom is my guest. Mike, tell me a little bit about your frustration with the Cogeco debate not going off.
Well,
this is something you got to be looking forward to. As soon as they drop the writ, you got to be saying, okay, here's my date. Because you've moderated all these debates before.
I've moderated the debates for the last, since I moved back into this area 16 years ago. Yeah. Renewed my connection with TV Cogeco. I've been doing all of the political debates, and I was really looking forward to this. It was scheduled for this coming Thursday, February 6th. Daryl Day, the producer, and Jack Custers at
still
TV
there,
Cogeco. Jack's
good
still
crew.
There.
Yep.
Jack is the program director, and we threw out the invitations a couple of weeks ago to all of the candidates. And as you know, our mandate as a public broadcaster, we include all the candidates. So there are 8 candidates in this by-election, and all 8 would be there. We heard back immediately once Wayne Gates' name was thrown in as the NDP candidate. Wayne definitely said he was interested. And we were on the fence waiting for Joyce Morocco from the Liberals and also Bart Maves from the PCs. And Joyce was the first one to express her regrets. And shortly after that, it was Bart Maves who expressed his regrets. Daryl was telling me that, when we first heard from Joyce, he was hoping that he would hear from Bart
and
that
say,
he was
we're
going
in,
to be.
yeah.
Because, we looked at the fact if Wayne was going to be there, if Bart was going to be there, it would be impossible for Joyce to not find time in her schedule.
And
to
you'd
be there.
think for the Liberals of the governing party right now, they're taking a lot of
Exactly.
bows and arrows, that she would want to be there to defend herself. I know the Cogeco debate isn't set up, the structure isn't set up so that you can go after it. It's more, you answer the question and that's it. There's not a whole lot of debating time to go after each
We do them
other.
extremely structured. Usually what we start out with is a minute to a minute and a half of an opening statement.
Mm-hmm.
And then the questions. We roll through the questions. We don't give the same person the chance to answer the question first. There sometimes is some back and forth as far as one candidate replying to something
Right.
that the other candidate said previously. But no, we keep it very structured. So there's never a chance really for someone to, sort of steamroll over everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So, as I say, as a team, we were extremely disappointed that this thing is not happening on February 6th.
So what was your parameters as far as your threshold? When was it canceled? When the Liberals and the Conservatives said no, you weren't going to roll on a debate without
That's
them?
it. Yeah. January 28th was when we...
So was it all candidates or nothing?
Pretty much, yeah. Well,
okay.
I guess I have to be honest with you. I mean, if three of the fringe candidates wouldn't have shown up,
Sure.
we would have probably gone ahead.
Right.
But certainly with the three major parties, we needed all three of them to
Now,
make
was this just a jobs debate?
No, it was
Okay,
not.
because I see
Wayne's-
Gates framed it as, we're going to discuss jobs here, and maybe that's what turned the other guys off. Maybe they have a weakness in the job or the economy department of their platform. I'm not sure, but I know Gates was really quick to frame this, and it's funny when someone's framing something, you just take it as gospel, right? You're like, oh, it's a jobs debate. Okay, I found that hard to believe.
No, it would not have been a jobs debate. It would have been, and often the way we set these things up, sometimes I generate the questions based on my research before that evening. Sometimes we invite questions from some stakeholders in the region to come up, or I should say in that riding, to come up with some questions. We may have asked, Kithio was here. We may have asked his cohort in Niagara Falls to chime in with a few questions. But no, we don't usually focus on one particular topic. So I can see, though, Wayne taking that and rolling with it, definitely.
Sure. I mean, that's a strong point. So there's no way that we can revive this. It's done, and we can't bring it back this week with some miraculous inclusion of the two candidates. That
Maybe one of them is listening right now and will eventually change their mind. I'm not sure. I have to say, I do live in the riding.
Okay.
I live in Niagara-on-the-Lake.
Right.
And I do have to say that Joyce Morocco's knocked on my door twice.
Wow.
Bart Maves' team has knocked on my door, and Wayne Gates' team has knocked on my door. In previous provincial elections, federal elections, I have not had that much exposure at my door. So this is definitely a by-election that's being hard fought. And as you know, the leaders of those three parties really need to make a dent, and this riding is a huge focus. I'm not sure if the same focus is taking place in Thornhill. I'm assuming it is, but we have three high-profile candidates with these top three parties, and they are busting the stumps trying to get support. So I do have to say that I do believe that the two that have said they can't make it on February 6th are busy.
Well, certainly. There's always door knocking to do, but I mean, that's the least of my priorities. When I was a candidate, I want to be in front of the cameras and get your takes out there. So I appreciate your time, Mike. Tell us a little bit about what you got coming up at Lower Secord before we say goodbye to you.
Well, all those students that I was talking about, they're prepping right now for our huge every second year musical. This year we're doing something different. The last couple of years, 2 years ago, we did something called Drowsy Chaperone, which is a fairly new one. A few years before that, we did Urinetown. So we've built a reputation for taking some risks. This year, we have Oklahoma. So
wow.
A complete turnaround.
Yeah.
Tracy Thorpe, our drama head,
it's very dramatic.
Chose this one,
nice.
and we have usually anywhere from 200 to probably about 300 kids involved in this production. Students,
So you'd be getting a lot of pub from Peyton Manning today.
Exactly.
Hey,
Yes.
Oklahoma.
Exactly.
Omaha. That's right. Wrong city, state, and country.
But like really,
Omaha, Oklahoma.
Our students build the sets. Our students paint the sets. They design the sets. Obviously involved in all kinds of promotion. It's coming up February 20th, 21st, 22nd. Also the 27th, 28th, and March 1st. Tickets for opening night, $10. And all other nights, $15 for adults, $12 for students and seniors.
How many kids?
Oh, it's just, like I say, really anywhere from 200 to 300 every year involved in this production.
Wow.
Behind the scenes. One of my favorite moments every year during this musical is when they open the curtains and show the orchestra behind the stage.
Oh, cool.
Because, honestly, the audience thinks the music is canned.
Yeah.
They don't believe that it's an
Well,
orchestra.
you guys sound good, man. I saw you live with Wainwright down at Lockview School, and very impressive for your Christmas concert down there.
Dave Sisler's incredible.
Yeah.
Dave Sisler's the best music teacher in Ontario, if not all of Canada.
Nice job, Michael.
Thank you, Jimmy. Thanks for having me on.
Well done.
Anytime.
Mike Balsom is my guest. Thank you to him. Kithio Mwanzia was in. Next up, well, the Blackflies are here. They're going to do another song when we come back. They're going to do an interview with me at 1:45. We're going to pimp out everything musical that they've got going on. But next, Fabian Reese is the winemaker at Conzelman. Romeo Mealy is the vineyard manager. We'll talk to them about everything wine when we come back on 610 CKTB.
This is the Jim Fannin Show on Niagara's News Talk 610. Call now, 905-688-2582, 1-877-610-2582, or text us at 61010.
Sleep at night. I lie awake in the moonlight. Well, I'm worn down. I am so tired. Wandering around with no desire. Yeah.
Welcome back. I am Jim Fannin. They are the Blackflies. Thank you, boys. We'll bring you in at 1:45 and get a little idea of what you guys are up to. Right now, we're going to talk to the guys from Conzelman, Fabian Reese, the winemaker, Romeo Mealy. Sorry, I'm Irish. Come closer to the mic, Romeo. Are in studio. Tell us about the hazards of super cold weather that we've been experiencing, and how is it affecting some of the wineries, and not so much yours, I hear. You guys have protected yourself against it?
Yes, actually, our winery, especially by the lake, obviously it's warmer by the lake.
Right.
So we're having more control with just Mother Nature. She's helping us with obviously it's not as cold by the lake.
More temperate conditions?
It's more moderating, yes.
Moderate.
And on our other location, East-West line, we're using wind machines. But the funny thing is, it's been so windy and cold that we didn't need to turn them on. So we haven't experienced a really severe minus, 25 type of devastating temperature, as some wineries have had, or vineyard growers. But our temperatures have been bad enough, and it's constantly cold. And that's what is very hard on the vines, on the buds. But so far, we've been taking a look and assessing the damage, and we've been doing pretty good for survival. We actually have a quite a bit better of a survival rate than many of the growers nearby.
No, Clark Bitter was in town with Mike Schreiner, the leader of the GPO, campaigning, and got a stop at your winery. Said something about fortifying the ground.
Yes. I'll elaborate on that.
Yeah.
Basically, I'm always looking how to improve our vintage. And funny thing is, How about just going straight to the ground? What can you do to improve the ground, the soil?
Right.
And so to that ends, for the last 7 years, with Herbert's blessing, Herbert is the owner, he's allowed me to go on sort of an experimental type, roaming about, you might say.
Okay.
And anyways, I've contacted one of the better men to help me in this regards for the soil, might say soil remineralization, Paul Leeds. I call him my soil doctor since soil health is number one.
Yeah.
And everyone wants to drink wine that comes from healthy soil because it's just going to taste better, if nothing else.
Sure.
And along with a better taste, you have a better quality of mineralization. For example, Italy's great for wines because the soil's volcanic. It's full of minerals.
Right.
And even though our soils are good here, there's a lot you can do to improve it. And whatever we can do to control a better outcome, we do. And I'm very grateful for the opportunity to meet Paul Leeds. That guy's great. Honestly, he's more important than my family doctor, especially for business. And yes.
Romeo Miele is the vineyard manager, and I'm joined by Fabian Reese as well, the winemaker. Fabian, tell me about your time in Niagara and what you do down at Conzelman.
Well, thank you for having us, Jim. It's a pleasure. Well, I'm the winemaker. I'm actually the 6th generation family member as well from the Conzelman family.
Oh, straight from Ireland?
Straight from Germany.
Okay, oh, shoot. I thought Conzelman was an Irish name.
No, German name.
Okay.
And Herbert Conzelman is actually my grandfather. And I was away for a few years in Europe to do some education for winemaking and viticulture. And I've officially joined the company as my 3rd year now. And making the wine and working with Romeo, who is I like to say, my left hand and my right hand. So
right.
We're a really strong team together, our whole company, and of course the vineyard manager and the winemaker work very closely together, and that's our main objective.
Now I can imagine what the vineyard manager does, but talk to me about what the winemaker. What's your role specifically?
My role is to I always say it's to maintain the quality of the raw material that's coming in from the vineyard to the winery.
Okay.
So it all starts outside in the vineyards. My objective is to keep the quality inside the winery and to make my wine. I mean, you can change the style of the wine, but maintaining the quality is the main objective.
So you're not creative, you're not creating products, you're not splicing breeds or anything like that. You're just quality control.
Quality control is important for me and in the company. I mean, we made a lot of new additions in the last few years by working with new press systems, the new press, as well as new technology, and we're doing extremely well in that, and that's our main focus, is to keep growing in quality.
Now, either one of you can answer this. I'm not sure which, but what are some of the challenges that you face being in Niagara? I know VQA has done a lot to expose you, not just in this country, but outside of the country. We've heard a lot of talk about being able to sell on site, about being limited at the LCBO. What are some of the limitations or hurdles that you guys have here in Niagara that you may not have outside of this community?
I'd like to start off with that, Jim. Basically, challenges in our industry are many. But like I said, we try to focus on the things we can control. And as a winery, we're trying to produce the best quality wine we can. And we like to think, because we are a leader, one of the leaders in wine quality production in Canada. And basically, everything we do is towards that aim, to produce a great quality wine. And that means making for sure that our soils are rich in nutrients. That is the overall basic tenet of our thinking, because if you don't have a good raw material, it doesn't matter if the VQA or whatever in this industry changes or is modified, we're still going to have a problem in our own winery because the quality will be lacking if we don't have what we need in the soil.
Well, tell me something about how you guys have gone. I don't know that this is true, but I see you guys as a leader in the community as far in all kinds of aspects, but certainly wine. What have you done that normally has been traditional for fortifying the ground that you've gone away from a new technology, new approaches?
Thank you. That's a good question. We're using right now non-conventional methods. And for the last 7 years is when I started on this new road.
So your fertilizers are not nitrogen-based?
Well, our fertilizers are a natural-based fertilizers. Okay. We believe in remediating the soil with only non-conventional, meaning, non-chemical.
Right.
And then we do the same with our foliar sprays. We're applying natural foliar feeds through the whole season. And then again, we use animal fertilizers. And in the fall time, we use a residue spray, which is basically we put down molasses, carbon, fish byproducts, and friendly bacteria, which grows.
Back guano.
You won't believe the difference. I can tell you, Jim.
Well, it's certainly got to give the grapes an earthier feel if you're getting away from nitrogen.
The vines are Amazonian green. The bunches are so healthy. Actually, I was afraid because it was very, very difficult in the beginning with all these changes. But now I look back, and I'm just looking forward to the future. And now that Fabian's here, Jim, Fabian with his experience, his background, I'm really excited. And so is Herbert Konzelman, his grandfather and owner. And together, we're a team. The whole winery at Konzelman has one aim, because we keep repeating to everybody, remember, we're here to do one thing, is to produce a quality wine and love doing it.
Nice. You want to chime in on that, Fabian?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about, do you feel like you guys are getting ripped off a little bit on the ice wine? Here we have a perfect little community here. We're producing a specialty product that the Chinese, Japanese, the Europeans are scooping up, and now I hear that the Chinese have said, screw that, we can make it with wine juice. We'll just copy you guys. You see any invasion into your market that you used to own by the Europeans or the Asians by just saying, oh, we can make this way cheaper. We don't need to freeze grapes at minus 25 degrees.
That's a great question, actually, Jim. And to that question, it's all based, again, as we mentioned before, it's all quality, right? And we as a company, or as Konzelman, we've been known for making ice wines that are absolutely world-class ice wines. And looking at the Wine Spectator in 2007, we actually won the world's best ice wine, which made us one of the first wineries in Canada to be under the 100 top wineries or wines in the world. And it's just natural having your grapes freeze on the vine. It's a natural effect of Mother Nature than versus taking the grapes and putting them into a freezer or making it like just in a fake way, right? I want to say. So for us, I think personally we did a little bit less ice wine this year in quantity. We're trying to maintain the quality that we're doing and also the quantity that we're producing. There's some difficult challenges that are going to be coming more and more in the industry, but our main focus is to work on our winery and just keep working at that quality.
Cool. Any events coming up? How do we get a hold of you? How can we support your winery?
It's our homepage email address is konzelman.ca, and you can find us in Niagara on the Lake.
Right on Lakeshore Road.
Right on Lakeshore Road, right by the lake.
Nice. I really appreciate you guys. We're really stacked today, but I appreciate you coming in on short notice. Thank you to Clark Bitter for setting it up and for coming out and giving you guys some pub. Mike Schreiner's obviously got to be a friend of yours with the the whole green technology and unconventional ways of fortifying the soil and soil. So I appreciate your time. We'll get you back in, I promise, when we can spend a half an hour or maybe an hour and talk about all things Konzelman grapes. I am Jim Fannin. We do this live Sunday at noon to 2 every day. Coming up next, rock stars in the house, Blackflies after this on 610 CKDB.
We're chillin' so smooth, sipping drinks at the beach now. Me, my guitar to a Vince we can reach, and we climb real high in that big bright sky now. I remember good times, remember good times.
This is the Jim Fannin Show on Niagara's News Talk 610. Call now, 905-688-2582. 1-877-610-2582 or text us at 61010.
Oh, gone, blinded by the sun, waiting on the time, waiting just to feel right. I'm always on your mind, keep waiting on that sunshine. You got a picture on the wall, telling lots of stories, waiting on yours to make it in time. You're waiting on that summer night. Well, you're waiting on that summer
light. Welcome back. I am Jim Fannin. My thanks to the Blackflies. Well done, boys. We got Jay, Chris, Jeremy, and Nathaniel in the booth. Jay, maybe you can start off just by telling us who you guys are and what the hell are you guys playing here? What do you call it? Roots? Folk? Country? What?
Folk rock. And our new CD, we actually named it Roots and Roll, because that kind of describes the sound of the band. A little bit of the roots music, and we do get a little heavier, so that's the roll side.
Okay.
We're from Niagara Falls. We just put out our third CD. and we're just trying to do whatever we can to promote the music. We're just an indie band, so it means we don't have any money behind us or whatever. Just gig whenever we can and try to promote doing things like this.
How much did Kasha throw together, produce, and cut, and put it in plastic and everything, make it look all pretty like this one?
The budget for the new album, the recording, was $5,000 for the recording, which was our biggest budget so far, which is pretty small, but for us that was quite a bit. Took us a while to save up the cash. And then the manufacturing and artwork and everything was about another $1,000 after that. And we just ran like a limited amount, and then we've already had to go back and get some more copies made. But
nice.
We're also selling them online. They're on iTunes and CD Baby, Amazon. Every site you can download music from. We're on there.
So the ROI for you guys, the return on investment's got to be huge. As far as it's got to take you a long time to pay for an album that costs you up almost $10,000 to put out.
Yeah.
So you got to sell a lot of $10 CDs. How much are these things going for at the show?
$10, 13 songs, and same thing. Downloads are $10. And we actually did a Indiegogo fundraising campaign to help us pay for the manufacturing portion.
That's right, and successfully too, because you see some of these Indiegogos and these financing campaigns that never reached their goal. You guys actually matched it.
Yeah, we actually went over the goal, which was nice because then you get to keep a larger portion of the money. If you reach your goal, they only take 4%. Off of it, and we went a little over the 1,000. So we had the little perks that we had to give to everyone, including we still owe people a couple live acoustic house party shows. And I did videos for a few people and CDs and shirts and everything. But it was great that we had a great response, even from people from Germany and Switzerland and people that we don't know, obviously. So that was pretty cool.
What do you guys got coming up for shows?
We're playing at the Kilt and Clover in Beamsville, and we also have a show in March at the Merchant Ale House for a local show.
Yep.
We're planning on trying to get outside of the town this year, playing shows like the Horseshoe or in Hamilton.
Horseshoe Tavern's been getting a lot of local acts. I know the draw of the Horseshoe Tavern. We all know legendary. Isn't that where the Stones rolled in one time and played just an impromptu gig? But are they taking a more local look, a more independent look at their performers, or are you guys just lucky enough to be good enough to get in there?
No, I think they've always done that. Pretty much a lot of the Ontario bands can get in. They have a
new music night.
Tuesday nights. We did a thing a couple of years ago where we had a Niagara night up there. We actually had there was like 3 bands from the Falls. Went up, we rented a bus and loaded up with people, and so we, maybe we'll do that same
Horseshoe
thing
Tavern.
again.
When are you guys in there?
We don't have that one booked yet, but that's we're gonna work on that this summer and try and get on some few of the festivals. We're working on a couple of those. Nothing confirmed yet.
We're playing at the In the Soil Festival.
Okay.
Right, that one's confirmed yet.
Yep.
Actually, we're at the Merchant Ale House for that one. That's in April.
Now, In the Soil, here's another for lack of a better term, an organic, community-based music, almost like Scene. I mean, Scene's a little larger now, but In the Soil, how's that grown? Have you seen it grown over the years?
I think it has. I think this is, I'm not sure if Joe could maybe text in and correct me, Joe Lipinski, if I'm wrong. I think this is the 3rd or maybe 4th In the Soil now. I believe we've done 2, I think, so I'm not sure. You kind of lose track. But Within the Soil is great, too, because they also do art and film and basically any type of artistic performance that you're involved with. They have a segment on that, but we're obviously in the live music.
Yeah, now you guys, I know, you might be political, but you're certainly not politicians. So your songs have some political slants to them as well. Tell me a little bit about what you'd like to see the community do to tap into this natural resource. And consider you guys a natural resource, man. This is a good way to make money. Maybe not a great way to make money, a little up and down. And you're subject to the ebbs and flows of the market and who you know and who you meet and stuff like that. But what would you like to see us do locally, either in St. Catharines or Niagara Falls, as far as promoting local talent? What do you think we can do? Like, first of all, we've got this great grape and wine festival down here. I've been a little bit critical. I don't want to see an Elton John cover band. I want to see Blackflies. I want to see My Son a Hurricane, and not at 2:00 in the afternoon when no one's in the park. I want to see it featured. We're going to open a brand new spectator facility here. I think that we could do something to promote local talent, but one of my musician friends says, well, maybe not a local band night, but you should have a policy that if Dallas Green comes and plays this new facility, the Meridian Center, then you have all the local acts got to be local to open for him. He can't bring his own local act.
Yeah,
Any thoughts on how he
at least even if he does have an opener on tour with them or whoever's going to be playing there, maybe stick someone in first for at least 30 minutes to get the exposure. But there are, having bigger festivals would be great. I know the one in Niagara on the Lake, they've done a couple shows there. Like if like you said, if they could kind of force an original band in there, I think people would like it. We have done Grape and Wine. We played the park a couple of years ago, but yeah, we were on at 6:00 and in the pouring rain. So, but it was all right. We were still there and playing our original music. And
just on the way out,
friends.
Jay, tell me who you are, who you got to say thanks to, and then your props will go around the horn and finish up over here.
Well, I'd like to thank Jim Fannin for having us.
That's why I led you into that question. In musical influences, teachers, rock stars that you've kind of modeled yourself after. I don't know, somebody you're grateful for that got you to this stage.
I don't know. I think I'm really appreciative just of the local scene. There's so many great musicians around. Like I know you know about a lot of them, but we're always inspired by each other because everyone we do really help each other out a lot with shows and events and promoting. And like we played last night in the Falls, and there was other bands coming out to hang out.
Taps Brewery
support at Taps. Yeah,
well done. Taps. Go ahead. Who are you?
I'm Nathaniel Gould, and big influence to me as well are a lot of friends in the area. I'm good friends with a lot of musicians in the area. Aaron Berger, the Book for Wanderers.
Nice.
There's a lot of good talent in the area to kind of take from and jam with and that. But big influences are, I would say, Neil Young, Matt Mays for a modern sound.
Okay.
But I usually stay to the folk side of things.
Yeah. Chris, who are you?
Oh, sorry, I'm Jeremy.
Jeremy. Chris. You're Chris. You're Jeremy. Jeremy who?
Jeremy Vokey.
From Niagara Falls?
From Niagara Falls, yeah.
Who are you grateful for? Who you kind of
grateful for music in general, the listeners, the people that make it. I'd like to thank Dean Moulton for making these records with us, and our good friend Graham High for doing all our guitar work and stuff, and just our friends and family. They've always been very supportive.
Mom and Dad, I always like to get a shout out here. Who's going to say, well, my mom and dad for born in me? Chris.
Chris Shadobiak. I definitely want to thank my parents and my wife for putting up with all the noise that I've made in the house playing the drums.
You guys aren't married because you missed that one.
Yeah,
you're getting someone you get home, Chris. Jay's not.
Jay's in trouble. Yeah. Just and the whole music community. You know what I mean? Like, met a lot of great people around, like throughout all the different bands, and even people who aren't in the bands who are always there. You see these same people at all the events that keep on coming out to support local music. And also, your show for having us in here.
Well, I'm desperate. I am Jim Fannin. As we go out with, I said I wouldn't say I am your Sunday scrub today, so maybe this is the last time we'll introduce. I'm getting so much feedback. Stop it. You're not a scrub. Stop saying you're a scrub. So, Davey, we're going to have to delete this song after we're done. I am Jim Fannin. We'll see you next week at noon. We're working back in the days, and Cardinals are booked. Have a great, safe Super Bowl Sunday. I hemp you. I'm
just
out.
How cool.